I recently watched another YouTuber completely gut his camper van project, a bit like I have, then refit brand spanking new flooring, units, bed, etc., you name it, then totally leave out any sound deadening or insulating materials. I watched another YouTuber describe about how there's a bit of a debate on some of the forums he's been reading as to the effectiveness of sound deadening your vehicle. It's probably a bit of an exaggeration to say that I couldn't believe what I was seeing and hearing, but I must admit I was surprised. Don't be like them. I say this because, sure, you may struggle to appreciate the difference a few sound deadening mats slapped on here and there, all willy-nilly like, to a couple of panels will make in a noisy van, but the difference it makes in a fully sound deadened and insulated van is night and day. Take it from me, someone who has zero to gain in recommending this type of product, regardless of who you buy yours from. It will transform your vehicle and your driving experience. Think about it. Where could you spend between 200 and 300 notes, again depending on which supplier you choose to go with, and get such tangible results? I can think of maybe one or two, maybe even three examples, but not that many. Regardless, all I'm trying to point out is that if you're putting together a camper, considering a refurb or spruce up or whatever you want to call it, give sound deadening and insulating your van some careful consideration. Anyhow, sermon over. So here I am then, looking to sound deaden what is probably the noisiest part of this van. So much so that if I could afford to deaden only one area, then this would be it. So before I can lay down the sound deadening material, first I must deal with any rust, and a particularly heavy patch of glue residue where an area of lining was glued on under where the bed went. After buying a wire brush and some blades, my first attempt at tackling the glue residue is with a scraper. But the scraper idea is a complete miss. Although it's fairly effective on the nice raised flat surfaces, I'd failed to consider how I would tackle the lower channels with it before I skipped off down B&Q to waste good money on blades that I know I'll only lose straight after this job. So, after the scraper, I went on to use the wire wheel, and although it proved fairly effective, it was far from ideal. Now, on this particular section, I didn't discover the best method of removing glue residue, hence breaking out the spray adhesive, which you'll see in a bit, but I did go on to discover applying white spirit with a paintbrush, letting it sit for a bit, then brushing on a wee bit more before scrubbing with wire wool worked the best by a mile. And the method I went on to use everywhere I've come across glue residue so far on this job. So now I'm not going to voice over any more on this post. There's nothing new I can really add that I haven't already said in part 1, which by the way you might notice some overlap due to the way I edited both. I will be once again leaving the post to run in real time rather than speeding anything up. This is mostly because I want to have a record of the work I've carried out. You never know, it might come in handy if I ever decide to sell. So if this is your sort of thing, watch on. If not, feel free to hit the eject button. Bye for now. I'm going to do the engine cover first because I need some bits and pieces from the DIY store because I've got to deal with the surface rust. There's a few areas where it's a bit more than surface rust where it's gone through, so there's a couple of tools or attachments for tools I need, so yeah, get the engine cover out, do that bit first and then go from there. In typical GoPro fashion, the camera has died at the point I need it most, so I've had to switch to tablet, But what I've decided to do is the engine cover first, and I've wiped it over with some white spirit to make sure that it's nice and clean, and I get a good stick from the sheets. I'm just going to use this paint to go over these holes where they actually used to have a wooden panel screwed to it. Where is it? I can't find the holes. So yeah, just going to get rid of the rust, go over those, and then stick the mats to them. Right, so the battery's charged again in the GoPro. It's the next day, and this is the first part I've done, this engine bay cover, and it took more sheets than I thought it would. There's about 12 and a half sheets there, something like that, and the pack I've got is 40, so I'm thinking I'm going to need some more to complete this area. But now I'm going to start on this lower section, just because I'm not going to be able to do the rust spots today, so I'm going to just cover this little bit, I think, and put some on here and see how we get on. Okay, these aren't sticking to where it's had the glue on there before. I've tried to, get as much of that off as I can, but what I'm going to do, I've actually got some spray glue, these ones where the original glue is, I'm going to spray those to keep those on there, and I'm going to have a go at fixing the roller as well, because that's fallen apart. So now touching up the metal where I've removed the surface rust, this is what I'm using, and it's an anti-rust primer, and this is what I'll be painting on to protect it. Okay, while I've got the undercoat out, I'm going to do these areas where the new panels have been welded, and there's a little bit of surface rust there where they've been joined on. So I'm going to do those while I've got the paint out. Just try and get that to last a little bit longer. I'm going to do that on both sides there. Yeah, just so to get it out of the way while I've got the paint out.